Hello and welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 871. That's Ocho Siete Uno with your host, Agostino Zinga, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of East London. How you doing? How you feeling? Great, amazing. How am I? You know how I am. I've been dipped in olive oil. I've been smothered in Vaseline. I am hooded up. I am Luebed up. I am Tom Ford up. I'm smelling absolutely gorgeous, feeling flipping strong. I'm pushing weights over my head. I'm lifting them. I'm resting them on my back. I'm running a bunch outside. I'm cycling like my life depends on it. And I'm keeping it flipping moving. And I hope you're keeping it moving too, wherever you may be. I hope you're keeping it moving too. So, what's going on in my life? What's going on in my life is that I'm really looking forward to this trip. This trip coming up. We're going to flipping Amsterdam. Big up my guy Bobby. We're going to Amsterdam. This weekend, Amsterdam. I shall be inside ya. And I cannot wait. Mostly because of what other people say. I'm not gonna lie. I never thought Amsterdam was my city. I'm not gonna lie. I'm more of I'm more of a Berlin type of dude. If you know, you know. But I am looking forward to seeing what the vibe will be like over there in Blood Claw, Amsterdam. One thing that I'm going to do that's very different, I'm going to try this out. It's going to be very hard to do, but I'm going to try it out. It's very counterintuitive to what I'm going to go do. So I'm going to go to Amsterdam to go see my favorite DJ called Dixon play. Dixon at Lo-Fi, this really cool venue in Amsterdam. Dixon, one of my favorite DJs, is playing there. What I'm going to do, which is very different to what I usually do, is that I'm going to be on the weed only. I'm going to go find a coffee shop. Whichever one I'm going to find. If you guys have recommendations, let me know. Reach out to me in the flipping Instagram DMs if you know any specific coffee shops in Amsterdam. Preferably not too far from the city centre because we haven't got too much time to kind of go and explore. But I'm going to find a coffee shop and I'm going to get a pre-roll. Because I heard in Amsterdam, their pre-rolls aren't mixed with tobacco. Because for whatever reason, the people in the UK, they sell pre-rolls. Most pre-rolls that you get from people are usually some form of tobacco is inside them. Now, this is pretty much an English thing. I know most people in America will hear that and be like, oh my god, that's fucking crazy. But it is a bit of an English thing to mix your weed with tobacco. That's what people usually do here. So I guess pre-rolls are like that too. But I'm curious to see if I can get a good pre-roll that's 100% weed and no tobacco. And I'm also curious to see, because it's going to be a far better quality of weed, far better range, I'm also curious if I go in a coffee shop, will they be able to recommend a weed that's a little bit more bubbly, that isn't one of those comatose ones that you take at the end of a long working day. Something that kind of get me up and going. You know, something that's going to vibe well with a club night. Because I'm on it. I'm on that vibe, man. I'm on that vibe of trying to go and listen to Dixon play on just weed alone. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting night. And I think his music or his style will blend well with that because it's kind of deep, atmospheric, deep house, amapiano type of vibe, tribal shit, which is usually slower BPM, anywhere between like 100 to like 125-ish. So it's not the fastest thing in the world. You don't need to be jumping up and down all the time. You can kind of two-step and have a good time. So I'm curious to see if I'm going to be able to smoke the weed and just have a good time with that alone. That would be nice. And of course, if I need anything else, multivitamin-wise, I will obviously dabble. But I'm obviously going to stick mostly to the weed and see what I go on there, especially because it's a long day. It's going to be a long day. We're going to be out forever from like 5 p.m. until the next day, basically, until 12, because I think we leave, if I'm not mistaken, I think we leave around 5. Is it 5 we leave? I think the plane departs here on the Saturday around 5, 5-ish. And then we're going to leave, and then we arrive there in Amsterdam around what? Yeah, okay, 8-ish and shit. So it's a lot. Yeah, we got time. So I'm gonna make sure that I can pace myself, and I'm gonna pace myself by having some weed only and seeing how that goes, and seeing if that kind of vibes. And if I end up dying and sleeping, that's all good, no problem. But I'm actually can't wait for it. It's gonna be a fucking blast. It's gonna be a fucking blast. Talking about blasts and talking about multivitamins and talking about trips. I've been watching some coverage of the Marcus Jordan thing. Obviously, as some of you guys know, as I spoke about in the last episode of the podcast, Marcus Jordan got arrested for cocaine possession and driving while drunk and shit because he unfortunately managed to get his very nice Lamborghini Urus on the train tracks. He was driving drunk on the way back from a club sometime with some girl. He ends up getting his car stuck on the train tracks. The police drive by and see him. At first they think it's an accident, so they pull up to see if they can help, and then they quickly realize that Marcus Jordan, the son of Michael Jordan, is absolutely blitzkrieged out of his mind, slurring his words, unable to balance and just looking a complete mess. Then they discover when they search him a baggie with some cocaine in it, and they arrest him for possession and shit. He got bailed, obviously, but it's been a pretty embarrassing 48 hours for him. But I was thinking about it in general, and I was talking about it yesterday on the podcast that I don't mind it. Like, I kind of like Nepo babies who are a bit destructive, especially Nepo babies of super famous people. Nepo babies are people that are just in the industry, doesn't really matter too much. But Nepo babies are super famous people. I think they owe it to their famous parents' lineage to be a little bit destructive and to go for it, instead of trying to replicate or surpass their parents' success, achievements, accomplishments. Just indulge yourself. Fuck it. Why not? Usually there's other siblings that can carry on the legacy of what your father or mother did for you anyway. And if there isn't, then legacy dies with your father and mother anyway. And then you remember it through that way. I think it's the Nepo babies give themselves too much of a mountain to climb and make it way harder for themselves, and also give themselves unnecessary criticism by trying to emulate their parents, by trying to go the same way that they went. If you're not good at it, if you're not talented, you don't have the hunger, you don't have the work ethic, as Brenda Shaw would say, just enjoy yourself, do a bunch of coke, smash a bunch of strippers, go to fucking whorehouses and just go out. Do what you want to do. But on the flip side, I also think the Marcus Jordan situation speaks to another issue. Because I'm somebody that, people will sometimes say a lot of things about my extracurricular activities, but I also play into it. Like, I'm a big believer in never clarifying anything. I don't clarify, I don't explain. So if people think I'm buzzed, if people think I'm smashed or whatever it may be, I let them carry on what they want to think about it. But one of the things I don't like about people is this idea that you're never in control. Letting the drugs, letting the alcohol kind of take over your life. Not having it be like a supplement. Not allowing it to be like a little bit of adult fun, right? Because nowadays, if you're grown up, you're not exactly going to go to a theme park. You're not exactly going to go to a fucking, ice skating, all these sort of naff, GAY things. You're going to do some other more adult things that are going to make you a bit happy, that are going to maybe cap off a hard week, that are going to make you enjoy your weekend, blah, blah, blah. And I think booze and drugs are a good avenue to do that sort of thing. But I think one of the worst things you could do as an adult, one of the most embarrassing things you can do as an adult, and one of the lamest, corny things is that you should not be able to control your drugs and your booze. I think being unable to control your consumption and let it take over your life to the point where you're losing jobs, to the point where it's impacting your personal relationships, to the point where you're losing everything, your family, all this malarkey is really out of line. Don't do that. Be the person that can do stuff and keep it somewhat in control. Because being out of control is just very yucky. Especially considering the amount of years of practice you probably had. If you can't keep it in control now, when could you ever keep it in control? Do you know what I mean? Like, relax. Especially the older you get, you should be able to know how your body works, pace yourself, and kind of go from there. Why do I say that? I say that to say, because Cameron, my favorite MC of all time, which makes sense why he's my favorite MC of all time, because we agree on a lot of things, he had a very interesting take about Marcus Jordan's situation. And he basically echoes some of my opinion in terms of people, not minding what people do. He doesn't necessarily do any hard drugs except for weed, but he hates it when people aren't in control of what they do. Keep it in control. If you can't keep it in control, fucking quit. So this is Marcus Jordan. This is Cameron on Come Talk With Me on the, It Is What It Is show with Mace, talking about the Marcus Jordan arrest. And I thought he made some really good points. Let's play the clip.
But at the end of the day, you need to stop embarrassing your family like this, because I know as a father, Michael Jordan loves his son. But Murder made a good point. Who the fuck Michael Jordan gonna leave $3.5 billion with? He got $3.5 billion. God forbid, anything happened to Mike, but you can't leave it with him. Yeah. You can't leave $100 million.
Do that with the retros on. The nigga had the retros on.
Yeah, the retros on. He fucking the brand up, baby.
And that's a really good point. I never thought about that. That probably explains why some billionaires, Bill Gates being a good example, why they sometimes just give everything away. Maybe we think it's crazy. We think they're being out of order to their kids. But maybe what we don't know is that their kids aren't worth shit. Maybe what we don't know is that their kids are bad vibes. Maybe what we don't know is that their kids are a scourge on humanity. So the last thing they want to do is leave their kid with like $1,000, let alone 100 million. So maybe that's actually why a lot of these rich people decide to set up trusts, decide to set up funds, give their money away to charity, or just die and just leave it, not leave their kids anything. Because they know if they give their kids a battery in their back, their kids are going to be out here in the street, frothing at the mouth underneath some bridge somewhere.
This is a really great question, because I'm just thinking as a father, what do you do? Do you cut him off? Because then he might go on a downward spiral.
Really crazy.
Yeah, he go on a downward spiral and won't stop sniffing cocaine. Because a lot of people that I'm cool with, they sniff cocaine. They're functional. They don't think it's a problem. It's a Newport. They can sniff it and go on about their day. And sometimes they acting cocaine-ish and don't realize it. And you have to tell them, yo, I'm not going to.
Coke vibes.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say.
That might be actually the goal. The goal should always be for you to be functional. It sounds very odd. It sounds kind of insane. But maybe the goal should always for you to be functional. Be a functional drug addict. Be a functional alcoholic. If you can't be functional, especially the older you get, the more likely it is that you should just quit. If you can't be functional, you should probably just quit. Take up pottery, start buying plants, go for hikes, start wearing mountain climbing boots everywhere you go, maybe take up cycling, maybe crochet, but you shouldn't be drinking or doing drugs if you can't do it at a functional level.
Names, but my thing is this murder. When I ever get together at my house, I don't do cocaine, Molly, eat none of that. I smoke my weed. That's all I do. But I keep a little bit of everything for everybody, just in case. just in case that's what you into. As long as you know how to control yourself, you go in my bathroom, 800 tissues in the garbage can, little boiled up tissues. I'm like, I don't know how it works. I guess they stick a little. I don't know.
Anyone that's been to an afters knows wagwan about that fucking bin. Anybody that's been to an afters know wagwan about the state of a bin after a heavy sesh. Jesus Christ.
No, murder. Shit, them shits be in the bathroom. I'm like, yo, they gotta take their garbage with them. Yeah, the edge shit is crazy. I'm like, yo, they don't even consider cleaning up what after they sell. And I would get together and it'll be 4:35 in the morning. Everybody, I'm like, so we gonna wind down now. If you're gonna spend the night. They talk about, you don't want to go to Six Flags? Nah, I don't. It's 6:30. I don't want to go to Six Flags, yo. Yeah, they not Six Flags after being up. No, so nobody want to go to Six Flags. No, nobody wants to go to Six Flags. We've been up since yesterday. No, this is what I'm talking about when you cannot control your habit. Learn it when weed smokers are cocaine addicts. Weed smokers smoke and want to relax. Cocaine addicts are up and they fall asleep by chance. Whenever they could.
And you know another thing I'm starting to recognize though, for real. I think Marcus Jordan need a black girlfriend. He need a black girlfriend. This type of stuff don't happen with a black girlfriend. I think niggas gotta go back to black girls. I'm just
if it don't turn them on, what you want them to do, murder?
That might be some truth in that, but overall, I think the message of being in control of your addictions, being in control of your drugs, being in control of your vices and not letting it overtake your life is super important, especially nowadays, because the world is gone to shit. Most people are trying to numb themselves from the pain of seeing, kids in Sweden dying in a school shooting, people dying from a freak accident of a fucking plane falling out of the sky, seeing video clips of pieces of people's bodies strewn all across the Philadelphia streets, seeing the terrible images of what's happening in Gaza, free Palestine until the death, like seeing all these horrible images. It's just making people probably more drawn to stuff like drugs and booze to kind of allow them to somewhat, exist in this world full of fucking pain and terror. So if that's going to be the case and drugs aren't going anywhere, especially nowadays with like research chemicals and pharmaceuticals being what they are, it's just not likely we're going to live in a society where drugs are going to go anywhere. Especially even with the you know, with the invention of stuff like Ozempic. As weird as it sounds, you know, maybe later on down the years, maybe later on down in, you know, in years to come, there might be, you know, labs that basically take what they do with research chemicals, take what they do with Ozempic and take it a whole nother way and start creating these really interesting synthesized drugs that make you trip and, you know, become really whatever sentient or whatever it may be. That could definitely be something that could occur in the future. So if that's the case, it's only going to get worse. Drugs are only going to get worse. There's only going to become more and more options. So people just have to learn how to manage what they currently have and not let it overtake their lives, because I think that is the most unchicest thing, if that's a word, that you could ever do, is letting drugs overtake your life to the point where you are getting arrested because you drove your car on a train tracks. It's just too much. It's just too lame. It's just too disgusting. And especially at his age, being in his mid-30s, it's just not cool. No one looks at that and thinks you're cool. Everyone thinks you're lame. So hopefully Marcus Jordan gets together. Hopefully Marcus Jordan gets it together. Hopefully. Next way to talk about Kanye. Big up Kanye, big up Kanye. Kanye's my guy. I flipping love him. He sat down with Justin LeBoy for an interview, which was actually better than recent Justin LeBoy interviews that he does with Kanye. But unfortunately for us Ye fans, he did speak quite enthusiastically about AI. And not AI in terms of producing like the beats, some of the instruments, adding some new ideas to already beats that already been produced to kind of finish them off. He spoke very enthusiastically about AI regarding his raps, because people notice, I think in Vultures, is it Vultures 3 or 2? Is there even a 3? Well, I think it's 2. Whatever Vultures it was, people noticed, and I didn't notice at first, that a few of the tracks clearly have Kanye AI voice in, you know, used in them. And the idea behind that is that you write your raps, and then because Kanye is one of the most recognizable people in the world, there's hours and if not multiple millions of hours of him speaking footage out there. You can get AI models that can essentially take the raps that you write and basically rap them in Kanye's voice. So that's what Kanye used in a few of his tracks in one of the Vultures. I think it might be Vulture 2 if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Vulture 2 that Kanye used some of that stuff on his raps. Yeah, it was Vulture 2. And people weren't impressed by it because Vulture 1 obviously was a little bit more real. And I think that's been one of the things that people have been hating the most of AI. This idea that you can clone people's voices and use them. Drake used it pretty well when he did that freestyle diss record to Kanye, where he took the voices of, what's it called? Of Tupac and Snoop Dogg and insulted Kendrick on the track. I thought that was a very clever use of AI. But generally people don't like it. And I think that version of AI was different too. I think that version of AI Drake used was the voice of Snoop and Tupac, but he was actually rapping. So he rapped the verses, and then he used the AI to change the verses to sound like Snoop and Kanye. Whereas Kanye's AI, he's, I'm sure, using one where you just type the words out and the AI voice raps the lyrics in his voice. And most fans, myself included, can't understand why he's doing it. So here's Kanye explains to Justin LeBoy why he likes AI and why he's going to be implementing it in all his music going forward.
People like stay away from AI. It's a more negative reaction than Autotune. And I remember like I did Autotune because people thought, they're like, man, this Autotune is trash. As an artist, I could take anything. I could sell a piece of shit for $10 million and shit, you know, and shit. That's another 20.
Yeah. So auto.
What? But Autotune sounds good though. Everyone sounds better with Autotune. No one does not sound better with Autotune. People hated Autotune at first because they just hated how Autotune sounds, but nobody could objectively say that Autotune didn't sound good. AI just doesn't sound good. It's just, it's not warm. It's too tight. You know, if that makes any sense. It's too tight. You can clearly hear when somebody's using AI voice for it, especially the ones that do text to voice. It just sounds too precise. There's no imperfections. You know, you don't hear the breaths and shit. All that stuff is super important. And also, it's Kanye West. What else is he doing now? He's a billionaire. Like, you got time to do a lot of things, brother. You don't need to be fucking using AI. You've got time. You've got the time to rap and do your lyrics and whatever it may be and perform. It's like Playboy Carti. That's why one of the things that annoys me about Playboy Carti, one of my favorite artists, but when he performs live, he doesn't even rap his songs. He basically acts like a hype man for his own songs, screaming and shouting over the tracks, but he rarely stands there and raps the bars, bar for bar, word for word, line for line, verse for verse. He just kind of hypes along to it and screams, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, brother, your songs aren't even that complex. Your songs aren't even that complex. It's more of a vibe and a wave. Can you please just rap your songs? Can you just rap along to your lyrics, please, for love of God? And Kanye, the same thing. You're a fucking billionaire. You showed us the proof on your Instagram. Was it 2.97 something and counting? Cool, great, amazing. Now you got $1 billion. Get in the fucking booth and fucking rap.
Tune you feel like is AI as well?
Exactly. It's in the same family, except people have a more visceral reaction.
Is AI the future?
The visceral reaction is because it's shit. That's it. The visceral reaction to AI is because it's shit. Please, Kanye, for the love of God, it's shit.
Of music, or is it a crutch?
It's time for me to explain to people the power of AI and music. So I take a sample, and this is like a dream come true. Back in the days, you used to have to get the 24-track stems, the Motown, like the 24-track reel. It was like this, and they would tape it on a CD or tape it digitally, then you got the different parts. Right now, you could take any song and separate it. Just get the vocals, just get the bass line, the drums, completely separated. So when I send a song or a sample to my engineers, I just say JS AI, like how the website is.
Yeah.
So it's like my engineer, John Scott, AI. So we're speaking like digital THX. Like on THX, this is the movie that George Lucas did.
I get what he means. It is quite incredible nowadays that you can take records that have already been done and strip them of their vocals and turn them into instrumentals. That's incredible. That's one of the advantages of AI. And even for someone like myself, I do podcasting, I do streaming. If you want to create a jingle, you can essentially go, and I think it's Udemy and a few of those other kind of sites, and generate some pretty decent jingles that you can then probably tighten up yourself with other, music production platforms and shit, or sorry, applications, and kind of add to it. I'm sure that would be a thing to add. I've even used AI for some of my mixes. When I want to do a mix, I might go in AI and say, oh, if I'm like struggling for a tune to play after a certain record, I might go, okay, cool. What song sounds similar to Mr. Fingers' Can You Feel It? Right? Or a song that was released around the same time. And then I'll say, name me 5 songs that are in the same BPM range of Mr. Fingers' Can You Feel It? And then, AI, whatever it is, ChatGPT, Grok, whatever, will give me a list of tunes that sound similar. And then maybe I might not use one of the tunes, but that tune will give me a jumping off point to go find something else. So it's a good resource. It's a good sort of tool, but you shouldn't be completely relied upon. You shouldn't just say, oh, give me an hour's worth of house music, and then you just play those records that AI gives you, because then it wouldn't be interesting. It wouldn't be a part of your artistic expression. It's not going to have any, even nuance. It's not going to have any personality to it. It's just going to be a bit bland. You got to add a little bit of your own personality to it. And I think that's what, and music fundamentally, that's what it always should be. It's always is about your personality. Some rappers, we love them based on their voice alone. Like Jadakiss, to this day, Jadakiss could rap a nursery rhyme, and I'm gonna fucking close my eyes and do the screwy face and fucking nod along. That's what I'm gonna do. If Styles P raps a fucking children's book, I'm gonna do screw face and crunch my nose and just keep rapping along, because their voices are so poignant, their voices hit so hard that that's what you fucking connect with. So once you take away your voice and you start doing it through AI, and it's all precise and to the point, missing any imperfections, missing the breaths, the tuts, the S's and shit, the cadences, the stutters, all that stuff, it just takes away from the tune. That's a necessary part of the song, necessary part of it. Using it as a tool, cool. Using it as a crutch, not so cool. Or using it as a replacement, come on, bro. I already don't like the fact that Kanye sits down when he raps, when he records music. I'm not gonna lie. I already don't like the fact that Kanye sits down in a chair when he records his music. There's something about that kind of always like, man, get up, man. Like, stand up. Like he's sitting down and recording. Like, what is this sitting down and recording thing? Stand up and fucking rap into the mic. Use your arms, use your body, like use everything to kind of get across what you're saying. And it also is part of the performance too. But obviously when he performs, he does what he does. But if you're already gonna sit down when you rap in a comfy chair, in an air-conditioned, studio, surrounded by palm trees, and DJ Khaled hyping you up in the background, already your bars are not going to be good because you're too comfortable, you're too rich, you know, you've got $1 billion and counting, and now you're telling me you're going to be rapping using AI. Come on, Kanye, man. Come on, bro. Honestly, come on. And you already gave us something that we can hold on to with Vultures 1 that was really good, really fucking good. And then Vultures 2 comes out, you're like, what the fuck is this? And no wonder it sounds so horrible. Now thinking back at it, I don't believe this rumor that it was rushed. Remember everyone was thinking it was rushed. Maybe it wasn't rushed. Maybe it was just mostly done with AI. That's why we didn't like it. That's why intrinsically, all of us Ye fans were like, what the fuck is this? Because it just didn't sound right. Like, you can't, it's like AI images. Yes, you might get duped for like a millisecond, but your eyes will suss it out. This isn't real. These people don't exist. This whole thing is make-believe. Oh, yeah. But anyway, recommend you check out the interview anyway. Justin LeBoy did an actual decent job interviewing Kanye. It wasn't too bad. It really wasn't too bad. So big up Kanye for sitting down with him. I'm still not sure what their relationship is all about. I'm not going to lie. Justin LeBoy seems very lame. He almost seems like Justin LeBoy gives me DJ Academics vibes. But I don't think Kanye would like DJ Academics because of how fat he is and the fact that he doesn't wear cool clothes and he's got that big face. I think Kanye aesthetically wouldn't like Academics because of that. But I think Justin LeBoy reminds me a lot of Academics. And obviously he's incredibly young. So I've always been confused why Ye seems to be so close to him, why he likes him so much. Because they're real friends now. Like, Justin LeBoy has been around long time. Like, he's not going anywhere. Like, he's been around for a while. He's probably the one consistent person in Kanye's life, apart from that kid that records all the video. By the way, that thing's coming out soon, isn't it, right? That documentary, that kid, I forgot his name. The white kid that's always got the iPhone standing behind Kanye. He recorded an amazing documentary, I think it might have been from like 2015 or something. He's got footage. Basically, I think his footage picks up from that Yeezus documentary on Netflix all the way until now. So we'll probably get to see like background stuff about Virgil, because I've always been curious about that too, about the state of Kanye and Virgil's relationship before he passed away. R.I.P. to the GOAT. So it'd be cool to see some of that information, see maybe what happened with Don C and all those guys, because it feels like all those guys have either abandoned Ye or he's abandoned them. But he's got a completely different crew now of people that he kind of hangs around with. So maybe seeing how those things pass out will be quite cool to see. But anyway, check it out. It's available on Justin LeBoy's channel, I think. It's called The Download or something. I'm sure if you want to see it, you'll find it. I'm sure if you want to see it, you'll find it. Okay, moving on. Another breaking news that happened actually, or not another breaking news, but breaking news happened this morning, as I just woke up actually, was the news that Sabato De Sarno had exit Gucci. Sabato De Sarno exit Gucci. A bit of a shock one, not in terms of the quality of work. I think if you were following Gucci since he took over from Alessandro Michele, you would have seen the clothes and probably thought to yourself, you know what, this isn't as good as what Alessandro Michele was doing. Yes, Alessandro Michele's, presentation of what his Gucci vision was like was very distinctive, very maximalist, very over the top, very kitsch, very distinctive. And maybe Sabato De Sarno's stuff looked a bit too similar to everybody else for what they're doing at the moment. If anything, Sabato De Sarno, I think I said it earlier in Fashion Roadman stream, that it was giving me number 21 vibes, because number 21, that Italian brand, I always feel like they kind of just base their collections off of what's trendy. They get like a mood board and see what people are wearing street style wise and just kind of make a whole collection based on that, which is kind of hard, but kind of not. And I think with the issue with Sabato De Sarno was that his stuff was looking like, for lack of a better term, like Parenza Schuler, that sort of stuff, where it's kind of like, it looks like everything but nothing at the same time. Even like Gabriella Hearst is kind of similar. These type of brands that don't really have an identity, but they're having no identity is their identity. But unfortunately for him, one of the things that I think was very unfortunate was that I was starting to see, even myself not being like super plugged in, but having some knowledge of fashion, I was starting to see the references too overtly. So especially the last menswear collection, or the one previously to the resort. There was a little bit too much raff going on there. The short shorts, the little fucking cravat things around the neck, even the casting of the models, it looked very raff. So it was kind of starting to look a little bit too much like other people. But I think fundamentally, fashion conglomerates like fucking Kering and LVMH, they're just all about the numbers. So I think they looked at the numbers, it wasn't going well, so they dipped, which is something that I kind of rate. I think fashion conglomerates like LVMH and Kering, They kind of operate like Real Madrid. They kind of operate like Real Madrid and Florentino Perez. The moment you start fucking up, like Julian Lopetegui is a good example. Julian Lopetegui was fired, I think, within like 7 months. They don't waste time. As soon as they notice you're not that guy, maybe they get reports from people on the inside that your training is a bit shit. Maybe the players complain that you're not the right profile. Maybe the style is not good. They make a move straight away. They can't risk it. The brand is too strong. The conglomerate's too strong. There's too many shareholders, stakeholders, investors, all depending on some collection banging. So if it doesn't bang, if the sales numbers aren't there, they cut. They don't fuck around. The only problem is that approach can sometimes lead to mistakes, which they made with Alessandro Michele, I think. Because they probably, as Professor Rob mentioned in his stream, they probably panicked a little bit because of the dip in sales. But the dip in sales there was context around it, considering that was around, I think, COVID times and shit. And I think one of his previous last ones, I think, was the ones that he did in the streets of LA when it was during COVID too, I think. I don't think anyone was out. I remember him doing it along the Hollywood Walk of Fame or something. I remember one of those type of shows. So I think Kering panicked and got rid of Alessandro Michele at the worst time. Because I think Alessandro Michele is one of those designers like a Hedi Slimane, who people are rumoring will take over at Gucci. He's one of that level of designers where he makes people money. He makes incredible products. He puts on great shows and he makes money. Like the stuff that he makes sells. And when I mean selling, and not mean selling in terms of to us fashion people or people on Show Studio or fashion Twitter people or all those people, I mean like real people who actually buy this shit. Not commentators and people that speculate. Actual people who buy this stuff would buy the stuff that Alessandro Michele makes. So get rid of someone like that, you have to be really, really sure. Really, really fucking sure. And they weren't. They made a move. It fucked up in the end. And now they're probably going to have to go back to one of those people. Which is weird, isn't it? Because they sacked someone like Alessandro Michele, who's the elite designers who can sell product, to hire somebody new and young to bring them, to make them a little bit more culturally relevant and to make them more look a little bit like aesthetically pleasing to what's going on now at the moment. He doesn't sell, and now you have to go back to that old person to sell products once again. But wherever Alessandro Michele is right now, he's probably fucking laughing his head off. He is absolutely laughing his head off at this because he was done kind of dirty. He didn't really deserve to get fired. I don't think Sabato De Sarno deserves to get fired either. Do you know what I mean? 2 years, 7 collections, probably isn't enough time to get your message across. But if you're being critical, 7 collections over 2 years, if you can't make your message across, then you're probably never going to get it across. So it's probably best that you leave. So let's read the article courtesy of Vogue Business. It says, Sabato De Sarno is exiting Gucci after he appointed was Gucci. No, Sabato De Sarno is exiting Gucci 2 years after he was appointed creative director. The brand announced on Thursday. Its Autumn-Winter 2012 show during Fashion Week of February 25th will be presented by the Gucci design team. So he doesn't even have time to present his last show. I wonder what that's all about. Is that like something they do in business because they don't want to give you any royalties? Because surely he's designed that collection anyway. Surely Sabato De Sarno has designed a full winter collection 2025 for Gucci that's going to be presented in February. Or was he already fired in November and now they're announcing it now? I've always wondered that. Why don't just let him show it and then you can go and say goodbyes? I wonder why they don't let people do that. They always do that. I think they did this. They did that as well to, I think they even did that to Alessandro Michele. Or who did that to last? Which I was upset about. I think Alessandro Michele was the one who didn't even get like a farewell. It's like, bro, let me at least have a, if you're going to fire me and I already designed it, let me just present it and then I can just say my goodbyes, get my flowers at the end, cry, you know, and go from there. It continues. It says, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Sabato for his passion and dedication to Gucci. I sincerely appreciate how he honored Gucci's craftsmanship and heritage with such commitment, said this Stefano Cantino, who was appointed CEO of Gucci in October 2024 in a statement. Ooh, I wonder if that was the reason why. New CEO comes, probably wants their own person, is looking for an excuse to get rid of you, and then the numbers dip and they're like, haha, I can get rid of you now. The other very telling thing is that there isn't a quote from Sabato De Sarno. So this isn't a decision that he took because he wanted to leave. It's more so they're saying, look, let's not have a firing on your CV. You say you want to leave, but we don't want to keep you. And then he probably resigned in that regard. But it's looking like he was told to go instead of him actually choosing to go. Sabato De Sarno was drafted in to replace Alessandro Michele, who left Gucci in November 2022 after a 7-year run. It was a high-stakes and high-profile appointment for the designer, more used to working behind the scenes, a graduate of Milan's Istituto Siccoli. De Sarno was previously fashion director at Valentino, of overseeing men's and women's collections. Bada bing, bada boom. Before joining Valentino in 2009, he worked at Dolce & Gabbana and Prada. He was tasked with resetting Gucci, whose sales growth had been falling short of its peers. I want people to fall in love with Gucci again, he told Vogue Runway and Vogue Business. Nicole Phelps, heard of his debut show. The show presented a pared-back vision of the brand. The funny thing that he said that, because that first show, everybody fucking hated it. He said he wanted everyone to fall in love with it, but that was incredibly divisive. Everybody fucking hated that first show. It did the complete opposite of what he intended. However, despite hopes of a turnaround, Gucci's performance was been hit hard by luxury slowdown, and his performance has steadily worsened over the past years. Its sales slumped by 25% to 1.6 billion and the third quarter of 2024, dragging heavily to the parent company Kering, Gucci's biggest brand. This followed a 90% drop in the second quarter and an 8% decrease on the first. So it was making you think, what did Kering executives think will happen? If Kering saw Alessandro Michele, this incredibly talented, incredibly commercial, incredibly on-point designer, struggling to sell stuff during a luxury slowdown, what made them think an unknown designer, most used to working behind the scenes for brands that don't really have anything similar to Gucci in terms of like style, apart from them both being Italian brands, how did they think that was going to work out? If Alessandro Michele couldn't sell products during a downturn, how did they think Sabato De Sarno was going to do it? Like how? Doesn't make any sense. Especially by paring it down, stripping it down, returning it to whatever, looking how it looked when he was on there. It didn't make any sense, really. It's a really strange decision that they, number one, fired Alessandro Michele for the reason that they fired him for. Because I would have been okay if they just said, look, we are bored of the kitschy shit. Because there was murmurs of that on social. Because some people are full of shit on social, especially fashion Twitter people. I did see people moaning a few times. I think it might have been the show with the twins, one of his last shows, and the other show that I said before, the Hollywood Boulevard thing, where some people on fashion Twitter were moaning that they were getting tired of that Gucci aesthetic. No, the Alessandro Michele aesthetic that he's presenting at Gucci. They wanted something else, where, you know, it's just like, this is what they do. You know what I mean? This is what they're about. This is their code. This is what they are. So they're going to imbue that with a brand, but changing it isn't an option. Then obviously when he gets fired, everyone's like, oh my God, how can you fire Alessandro Michele? Well, I'm wondering why they thought one distinctive image that wasn't selling, then suddenly a more pared down, stripped down image that was similar to loads of other brands would sell. It doesn't make any sense. It's such a weird decision to make, which is why I would have rated it more if they just would have said, you know what, we're tired of his kitschy shit. We just want it to be a bit pared down and a bit stripped back, a little bit plainer, you know, a little bit more, dare I say, normie. That would have made more sense. And then you just stick with someone like Sabato De Sarno. But you go with Sabato De Sarno because you think he's going to increase sales, because he's going to try and do this quiet luxury thing. But no one wants Gucci to be quiet luxury, you know? People want Gucci to be loud luxury, if anything. They don't want it to be quiet, especially people that wear Gucci. It continues. A new creative director for Gucci will be announced in due time. I sincerely thank Sabato for his loyalty and professionalism. I'm proud of the work that has been done further strengthen Gucci's fundamentals. Stefano and the new artistic director will continue to build this and guide the Gucci to towards renewed fashion leadership and sustainable growth. Well, they're saying Hedi Slimane is rumored to take over. They are saying Hedi Slimane, my fucking GOAT, one of my fucking heroes, the Dior Don, right? The Saint Laurent Papi, the Celine fucking G, may be heading to Gucci. Could you imagine if that happens? Could you imagine if that happens? Could you imagine if that happens? Actually, there's two articles here I want to read. Let's read this one from D Scene about Slimane maybe going to Gucci, and then let's also read the one courtesy of Fashion Law about Hedi's exit from Celine that may affect his ability to go to Gucci in the first place. But this is an article courtesy of D Scene magazine. Slimane's next in line for Gucci after De Sarno. Let's read what they have to say here. Significant changes are underway at Gucci, with creative director Sabato De Sarno leaving after 2 years at the helm. The fashion house has been struggling to regain its footing amidst a prolonged slump, announced that De Sarno's exit comes without a designated successor. Instead, the up-and-coming fall-winter collection will be showcased in Milan. Later this month will be collective effort by Gucci Design Office. Now, the really problematic and annoying thing about this is that most likely that collection that'll be produced by the Gucci team will likely be a collection that will be good enough Because I remember one of the first ones they did, I think the distinctive one was where the girls wear like a bra top that looked like chainmail. Wasn't that bad. That's the issue. It wasn't that bad. So the Sabato De Sarno got hired as the creative director. And then, of course, now the team will be taking over and they'll likely present a collection that don't look that dissimilar, if not better than what he did, which is a really bad indictment. Let's continue. Adding to the intrigue is the speculation surrounding Hedi Slimane, the former creative director of Celine. Slimane, known for his transformative touch and keen market sensibilities, left Celine in October 2024, shortly after presenting a finally highly acclaimed Spring 2025 collection in Paris Fashion Week. His departure has set off a flurry of rumors about his next big move, with insiders hinting at a possible takeover at Gucci. This speculation is fueled by Slimane's proven track record and fashion industry's inclination for dramatic leadership change. That would be so good. It'd be so good because I know he's a little bit of a free spirit in that regard and does things his own way. And most likely, if he did take over at fucking Gucci, he would likely move the fucking design studios to the Hidden Hills somewhere, maybe somewhere random like fucking Tbilisi in Georgia. Like, he's so weird like that. But I would actually love it if he did take over at Gucci and he just went back to like presenting in the regular fashion calendar, having his studio based out of Italy or wherever it may be, or somewhere in Paris that may be, speaking to the press, having regular design, having regular shows. That would be so good because he's so necessary to give Paris Fashion Week that needed kick. Don't get me wrong, Paris Fashion Week is still the premier fashion week of all of them out there, but you know, it can get a little bit boring after a while. You need some of the big dogs like Hedi Slimane out there, and you know for sure, with him being at fucking Gucci, if he's there, with Matteo Blasi taking over at Chanel, you know the other designers too will respond well to his return to the Paris Fashion Week calendar and just being about. It'll give everybody that jolt. And you'll start seeing probably some of the best collections you've ever seen because they all kind of, vibe off each other even without speaking to each other. I'd fucking love that to be true. It continues. Slimane's potential appointment comes at a time when Gucci desperately needs a resurgence. Under De Sarno's direction, the brand often faced criticism for not hitting the mark of its collections, were frequently spotlighted for intense scrutiny by both critics and consumers. The need for a strong creative vision is paramount, and Slimane's aesthetic could be the catalyst for Gucci. It needs to be revitalized its image and appeal to a broader audience. Oh, please come. Honestly, if Hedi Slimane goes to Gucci, I can't wait for his interpretation of the Gucci loafer. His interpretation of a varsity jacket, whatever. You know he's going to do something that's just going to, oh my God, I cannot wait. I cannot wait if it's him. It's going to be so fucking cool. Further stirring the pot, Slimane has also been mentioned as potential successor to Giorgio Armani. The venerable Armani, who celebrated his 90th birthday with a visit to New York this past July, presents another iconic fashion house that could benefit from Slimane's creative rejuvenation. As Gucci prepares to unveil its latest collection without a named creative director, the industry remains on the edge of its seat. Me personally, I'm also confused why Hedi hasn't tried to make his own namesake brand. He's probably made enough in terms of salary from other brands to have the necessary funds to go into producing his own brand, and probably has the connections to the right people to end up having it manufactured. But I would love to see that. Imagine having a jacket that's got like a Hedi Slimane fucking clothes tag on the inside. That'd be so fucking cool. I'd love to see him try and do what fucking Phoebe Philo's doing and have his own namesake brand. Now, most likely he won't, because it's way more fun to use other people's money and do things under other people's brands, so it doesn't tarnish your own brand. And maybe he likes his own brand to be mostly based around photography. I think he did a shoot recently, didn't he, Hedi Slimane? I think he may take a picture of, what is it? Was it Addison Rae or somebody? I think he did some sort of weird shoot somewhere. So maybe he prefers his name be associated with photography and all that stuff, and being a documentarian, whatever he does, as opposed to his name being associated with an actual brand. But I'd love to see that. I'd actually prefer to see him have his own namesake brand than go to Gucci. But if he does go to Gucci, wow, it'll be so fun. It'll probably be quite similar to Michele in terms of, I won't say the aesthetic, but maybe the drama, the theatrics of it all. Making it a big show. There'll probably be a return to indie music in Gucci. That'll be fucking hilarious. A return to having guys with guitars standing around wearing fucking, skinny ass fucking trousers and fucking loafers with no socks and shit. That'd be really cool to see. So let's see what happens in that regard. Then the other article I wanted to quickly talk about was this, courtesy of the Fashion Law, regarding the messy divorce that Hedi Slimane had with with Celine, I imagine, right? This was written 3 weeks ago. Courtesy of the fashion law, a messy divorce complicates Hedi Slimane and Gucci murmurs. Let's hear what they have to say. Amid the latest round of current creative director musical chairs, rumors are swirling to a moderate degree, according to fashion media, that Hedi Slimane might be running to take creative lead at Gucci. When was this published, by the way? This was published in, wow, January 15th. So there's been word that this is going to be happening for a long time. January 15th, this was published, and already they were naming Gucci, they were naming Hedi Slimane as successor, and also saying that Sabato will basically leave or get fired. Crazy. Newly out the top spot at LVMH owned Celine. Slimane's name has been thrown in the ring for a few jobs now, including Chanel, none of which came into fruition to date. Chances are Slimane's landing of Kering owned Gucci may not happen either, unless of course the parties can shake their history of legal strife. Oh yeah, true. That's a really good point. Maybe there's something in his contract too that prevents him from even working with Kering in the first place. TFL readers will recall that Kering and Slimane are no strangers, as Slimane took the reins at Yves Saint Laurent back in 2012. One of his best stints ever. The Wyatt boots, I still have them now, both colors that I still fucking wear, and I fucking love everything they did there. That fall winter 2015 collection, maybe one of my favorite fashion collections of all time. Like, absolutely crazy guy. Love him, love him, love him. While Slimane made a lot of money for Yves Saint Laurent thanks to his skinny trousers, motor jackets, and coveted footwear, the handbags infused revamp of the brand, whose departure was rocky to say the least. In announcing Slimane's departure in 2016, Kering CEO François-Henri Benlot said, what Yves Saint Laurent has achieved over the past 4 years, including breaking the 1 billion per year revenue mark, represents a unique chapter in the history of the house. I'm very grateful for Hedi Slimane and the whole Yves Saint Laurent team for having set the path and the house successfully embraced, which will grant longevity to this legendary brand. Now, looking at it, that quote, the fact that he's going out of his way to thank the team, it sounds a little bit like a sneak diss, isn't it? Like, thank you, Hedi Slimane, for what he did for us at Yves Saint Laurent, and he's calling it Yves Saint Laurent too. At the time that Slimane left, he dropped the Yves at the front of Saint Laurent. So him saying the whole name and then also mentioning the team maybe shows you that, you know, maybe Hedi and François-Henri Benlot maybe fell out behind the scenes, which may affect his return to a Kering owned brand. But you never know, maybe they've made up. One thing that rich people love is to make more money, so they would probably piece it up if it would increase their chances of making a lot of cash. So that is possibly the case. Fashion law continues. Slimane v Kering. Behind the seemingly amicable split, however, was a brewing legal battle, as a couple months later Slimane filed a suit against Kering in a French labor court, arguing the former employer's parent company failed to observe the non-compete clause in his contract and pay out the hefty sum of money that came with it. By lifting the non-compete provision, the end of Slimane's contract April 2016, Kering freed Slimane of contractual limitation that would otherwise prevent him from working for a competitive house. It also served to cut off compensation for Slimane, which would have sustained for the duration of the non-compete period. In short, Slimane alleged that Kering failed to pay him $13 million he would have been owed in non-compete and been put into action. Okay, this is making it seem less and less likely he's going to go to Gucci. You know, if this is the case, if he fucking went to court over this, sued them for money's not paid, I don't know. Would they be able to forgive this, turn a blind eye to this? You know, sweep it under the rug, you know, because they want to make more money? Can they do that? Or are their egos also involved? And if you know anything about fashion, you know the egos are paramount everywhere. Everyone's got ego. For the person that signs your name at the front of the fucking door when you go in, to the security guard, the person that cleans the store, everyone's got an outside ego because it's fashion. So that makes complete sense. But I'm not seeing it like he's going to go to Gucci. Now that I've read this, it doesn't make sense. It continues. Kering addressed the suit at the time, saying that in a statement that the litigation centered on the non-compete provision in Slimane's previous contract at OISL, confirming that it lifted its clause. In preliminary hearings in 2016, the French Labour Court determined that Kering was on the wrong side of the law and they owed Slimane the $13 million, like a result of the fact that in accordance with French law, an employer cannot unilaterally waive a non-compete obligation unless the clause states so, Provincial Bro's attorney noted at the time. Not limited to one case though, so they did eventually give him the money, it seems, that sounds like. So maybe there's an option to say, you know what, this is water under the bridge, let's move on, but I doubt it. Not limited to one case though, Slimane doubled down in October 2016, filing a second lawsuit against a luxury goods conglomerate. In the second suit, Slimane's counsel argued that the $30 million sum ordered to pay was woefully inadequate. Jesus Christ, Hedi. He's like, look, I know you owe me 13, but you actually owe me more than that. I've just checked my fucking maths. I've just checked the figures, and you actually owe me more than 13 mil. So fucking back up the Brinks truck. As it did not take into account the additional clause in Slimane's contract that guaranteed he would be paid a compensation after taxes of at least 10 million euros as tied to the minority stake ownership of YSL. In a decision in 2018, the French court sided with Slimane, had been underpaid by as much as 9.3 million euros after taxes for his last year of service. A spokesperson for Kering said the company planned to appeal the court decision. Slimane's lawyer said his client would not issue a statement on the case. So this seems to be, this is only 2018 by the way, and you know, he was involved in essentially, you know, making Kering not have a lot of money and shit because they paid out to him